For Tatum, it's about creating at least some level of mystery. If the defense knows what you're going to do, they can stop it or challenge it. Like you go back to the Milwaukee Bucks game, didn't Shemi Ojale get a block on like
On
of
a
course he
sidestep,
did.
yeah.
Right, of course he did because
Yeah.
he knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And okay, so some guys when you know exactly what's going to happen, you can't do anything about it. And even with Tatum sometimes because he's so long and he has that high release that's why he's developed that sidestep and that he can get off most of the time. But generally speaking, that's still a difficult shot. And if you're not feeling it, then that's not going to fall quite as often. For Tatum, and it's not just you be aggressive so you can draw the defense. It's you be aggressive and you drive and you spend a certain amount of time driving and kicking so the defense doesn't know, is he going to pass in this situation or is he going to shoot in this situation? And that keeps them off balance. And that's when you can manipulate them. That's the whole thing. Why Luka can be so good. Why some of these guys who aren't Kevin Durant or LeBron James, who are just like on another planet athletically, they can manipulate defenses because you got to be like, is he going to pull up? Is he going to pass? I really don't know. And when you drive and you drive and kick two, 3 times, or when they double you, you move it, then you just set up a quick boom. Nope, I'm laying it in. Like you can set up those little things that you can go to later in the game. The best manipulators of the game think this whole game through and say, I'm hitting him with this move 3 times in the first quarter. So in the fourth quarter, when I hit him with that move again, he's expecting this, but I'm doing that. That's where Tatum, I think, needs to be when it comes to his own offense. Get somewhere, do things in the first quarter where you're passing and moving the ball, knowing that later you're going to get that ball again. And I know they're expecting. It's like boxing. I've thrown this right hook this many times. I'm just going to whoop and then go with that left, and boom, it's curtains with that uppercut. So Tatum is still, the beauty of this is all he's still averaging 20 something points a game, and there's still so many improvements that he can make. If
Yeah.
he can make some of these improvements, and they're very easy to make in season, he can overcome this and in December, January, February, all of a sudden start winning player of the week and maybe even a player of the month and start really like moving forward.
Yeah. Honestly, man, that's a really good point. I I don't have like much of a counter to it. I'm just like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. I'm curious what you think. Again, that's something that we talked about, but I'd be curious to hear what you think. Like, how much do you think the new rules are affecting him, just in terms of?
Totally.
I mean, like obviously it's affecting a lot of guys. It feels like that's a pretty significant thing for him as well.
So I will say that I do think that he has started to get more aggressive this
Yeah.
season. He did have that stretch on that road trip where
Yeah.
he really was ramping it up and it was working. My take on this is he is trying it and he's doing it. And I haven't even looked at the film or the numbers to see if this is actually right, but this is what it feels like to me. He's doing it more often early, and it feels like he's thinking, okay, I'm finally doing this. Where are my calls? I'm
Yeah.
not getting he's frustrated by the lack of calls. And so he's like, all right, I'm not doing this if I'm not getting the calls
Right. Right.
because I'm getting hit and I'm missing and my numbers at the rim suck. And I looked at his splits. The 16 foot to the 3 point line is his favorite shot right now, and actually the one that he's hitting the most. And
Yeah.
I think that's problematic because he feels most comfortable now hitting that shot, which is, I joked about this on the podcast the other day. If you went to every opponent, if you went to the Atlanta Hawks and said, okay, here's a contract, we're going to make sure that Jayson Tatum only takes those 16 to 24 footers, and that's the only shot he's going to take. And Atlanta would be like, yes, sign me up. I'm absolutely going to sign up for that shot because it's the least efficient shot in the sport. So I think that he's trying to attack early. He gets frustrated by the way things are being called now, and he starts going back to old habits. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that that's part of it. And we sit here and we were like, you need to take more free throws. Well, no one's taking as many free throws as they
Right.
used to in the league this year. So we do have to be somewhat fair in that regard. He took 7. Was it last night? He took 7,
Yeah.
and it was like, whoa, 7 free throws. I don't know. I haven't even looked. Have you looked? I don't know how many guys are taking 13, 14 free throws in a game this
I
season.
haven't I haven't looked, but I have to assume it's low. I mean,
Probably very low.
it's a very different game, and I think that can't be ignored, right? Is like I think it's possible that at least part of this is Tatum just like trying to figure out what this new game is like, and that's a hard thing for a guy who has spent 3 years in the league already to this point, playing a certain type of way, knowing that certain things are going to work, and then all of a sudden they're not working. I mean, of course, like why wouldn't you just kind of go back to the thing that you're comfortable with, which, to your point, is 16 to 23 footers. Like that's where his bread was buttered. High school into college, all of that.
That's the show. Really appreciate you sharing the podcast with your friends, with your family. Tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network.